All right. And we are live. Welcome in, everybody. We're just going to wait for people to start filing in. Welcome in. All right. Going to go ahead and retweet my live stream, and then we will get right on it. All right. There we go. We are ready to go. You know, I like to know where you guys are listening from. So if you are watching from somewhere around the world that isn't where I'm at, I would love to know where, per usual. We have a ton to talk about today. We have Gaza. We have the Gaza peace deal. So we got some updates there. We have some news between China and the United States, economic news. We have news on Ukraine. I'm going to go over some map updates today because there are just so many that I need to talk about. So many important things happening inside of Ukraine. We're going to talk about tomahawks. We're going to talk about all sorts of different stuff today. For some reason, this stream is starting off very slow. I don't know what is happening. I've never seen a stream start this slow. So I'm just going to give it a minute and just let it wind up. There was like 0 people waiting. I don't know if YouTube is doing something goofy to my stream right now, but we're just going to wait on it. Greetings from Germany. Nice. Ontario, Canada. Newmarket, Ontario, Canada. I'm in Sweden. Nice to see you, Aaron, or Enrican. Happy Columbus Day, Scott. Happy Columbus Day to you, too. Is it Columbus Day? That's not a real holiday anymore. That's what the government told me. The government said it was a real holiday, and then they said it's not a real holiday anymore. So, Marty from Corrales. I know that individual. I do know that individual, and it's good to see you in here, Marty. I know Marty personally. Hi from Scott's Attic. Nice to meet you. There's always that question, would you guys rather have would you guys rather find like 40 raccoons in your attic or like one person? Didn't get the heads up you're going live. Yeah, man. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know why it won't notify you guys that I'm going live. It's very frustrating. I've been trying to figure it out. Been trying to do different things. There's no setting for it. I don't know why it's not allowing it. All right. Reporting from literal Mordor. Nice. No alert for this, Scott, probably because of the earlier video. Damn it, dude. Damn it. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry you did not get an alert about this live. I'm glad that everybody is in here. We have nobody in here right now. So this is interesting. I've never seen the stream wind up this slowly. I don't know. What's up? All right, guys. All right, we'll just go ahead and get into it. I hope all of you are having a fantastic Monday. I delayed the stream because I had some family in town, just didn't have the appropriate amount of time to sit down and do a long form stream. And there was a bunch of news coming out and developing last week, and I didn't really feel like jumping into a live stream with half information and events still unfolding. The large event, and what we will start off by talking about, is the Gaza peace deal. The Trump administration last week, or perhaps it was the week before, but I think it was last week, came out with a 21-point peace plan. The peace plan had been previously agreed upon by the Arab states, and Hamas had been pretty good about it, the entire deal. At the last minute, Benjamin Netanyahu made an unscheduled trip to Washington, where they changed the peace plan. They changed certain points of the peace plan. But even after that, Hamas did decide to agree to the peace plan in Cairo. That's where they signed the papers today. That's where they had their big assembly for the signing of the peace deal. This peace deal is a definite work in progress. Most importantly, it ends the killing in Gaza, at least for now. I'm not going to hold my breath, with the Israeli government and how the Israelis have been persecuting this war and their behavior towards their neighbors to the north, Iran, Yemen, obviously, Syria. So I'm not overly convinced that this is going to hold. But if it means that kids get food and kids stop getting bombs dropped on their head, I think we can all agree that it is a good deal overall. There are aspects of it which I think are not going to work out. Hamas has already not agreed to several points on the list, including, I believe, disarmament. And there is still some questions about who is going to be taking over Gaza, because Hamas is supposed to be disbanded. But the issue with that is all of the individuals who were in the Hamas government or who were in the Hamas military wing, they are just going to still be around. They are going to be a part of the next group. And the generations that have been decimated by this Israeli action inside of Gaza will be out for blood for years and decades to come. I think it's part of the point is to have this bad blood because the Israelis do not want the Palestinians in what is now recognized by most international or members of the international community as Palestinian territory. They recognize the Palestinian state, although the borders are not defined. And so, you know, the Israelis can't have that, especially the more far-right groups in Israel who are currently in power in the government do not want Palestinians. They do not want Palestinians to have Israel citizenship, voting rights in Israel. The whole idea of the Jewish population inside of Israel, or I guess you would say the Israeli population inside of Israel, becoming a minority to a Muslim majority, it just can't happen. That's just not something that the Israeli state is going to allow to happen. So I don't think that this is done. I don't think it can possibly be done unless the entire Israeli government is changed and the Israeli ideologies towards the Palestinian people are changed, which I don't see happening. So the peace plan, while temporary, at least for now, hopefully it holds. Hopefully people stop dying. But I just don't see this as being a real resolution to the problem. I see this as being a lot of external pressure that mounted and forced the U.S. and Israel to stop their genocide of the Palestinian people. That's the only explanation I see for any of this. Israel immediately withdrew from the territories that they were holding in Gaza. Not entirely. They are pulling out and pulling back. And I do expect that over the next couple of months, we are going to hear, we're going to get a more realistic idea of the casualties sustained by the Palestinian people in this conflict. And I think you're going to begin to see the true carnage and disaster that Gaza is. I mean, you get these sparse images and stuff like that, but I think that there is going to be a dedicated propaganda campaign to what happened in Gaza. And, you know, this is what I've been talking about with regards to Israel and their timing. They know that their window is closing, right? The Israeli government, first and foremost, let's just not even talk about how the U.S. domestic outlook on Israel is very poor. For the first time in American history, more Americans are siding with Palestine than with Israel, which is a complete 180 on the situation. And it really just pinpoints what I'm talking about, where Israel is running out of time. As soon as this boomer generation is gone, they're going to be dealing with my generation and the younger generation who just doesn't want anything to do with Israel. We don't see the benefit from it. We don't have the religious connotations to it. It's just not our issue, right? And so we are going to push the government in terms of them not just being allowed to give money away to Israel here in the future. So Israel's on the clock. They have to establish themselves. They have to remove their enemies while the U.S. is still on their side. And when that changes, they need to be prepared. So they are running out of time. Palestine needs to be taken care of. Iran needs to be taken care of. Hezbollah needs to be taken care of. Syria needs to be destabilized and easily manipulated, which it already is. So they're almost there, right? But they're going to need more. Not just Israel, but also Benjamin Netanyahu, who is continuously putting off his corruption court cases with wars and other events that need to be taken care of before justice can be served in the Israeli justice system. And again, it's everybody's on the clock. Benjamin Netanyahu does not have the time to not be aggressive and be getting into more wars. He does not have the time to allow Hamas to continue to exist in whatever form it will exist in. And so I just don't see this peace plan particularly working out. I think that, like I said, it is just a temporary cessation of hostilities because of the international and domestic pressure from the United States to end the slaughter of Palestinians. So that's where I sit on that. Again, I see us posturing towards Iran. I see Israel still striking targets in southern Lebanon, in Syria, and in Yemen. So I haven't seen anything change other than their open willingness to slaughter Palestinians. That's the only thing that has changed. And the only reason that has changed is because the entire world is literally turning on them. And if they lose the global support, I mean, Israel's a very tiny country with almost no GDP. It will be trounced in that region if it is abandoned. So I don't think it's going to be abandoned, by the way. The U.S. needs those military bases. It needs our sphere of influence there. But the government is definitely not behaving in a way that is symbiotic with U.S. customs and morals, unless you understand what the U.S. has done over its history, and then it kind of directly aligns with U.S. Morals. But that's another topic for another day. All right, guys. All right, let's talk about China now. We're going to move away from the Middle East because even though there is some news happening there, things are still pretty slow in the region. China just restricted their export and refinement of rare earth minerals. This includes, export to the United States. The United States is heavily reliant on Chinese rare earth minerals for everything we use. Every cell phone in every pocket requires these minerals. And while the U.S. does have a good supply, I don't know what you say. We have rare earth minerals in the United States. They're just not being accessed because it is incredibly expensive to do that. I believe that in the future we will transition, but for right now we are still heavily reliant on China. So this is a very provocative move by China in response to all of the provocative moves that the U.S. has made in the recent months towards China. The recent statements by Donald Trump calling China a major threat. And then, it's so funny because as soon as China goes forward with their moves towards, reducing the export of rare earth minerals and stuff like that, Donald Trump immediately comes out and starts backtracking on the whole situation. China seems to be in a very powerful position with a lot of leverage right now over the United States. We've seen it now through two little spats of economic warfare, I would say, between the U.S. and China. Both of these come in the form of Donald Trump's tariffs. He did one immediately when he came into office, which was immediately revoked with some grand trade deal, which really didn't amount to anything for anybody. And then now we have an additional 100% tariffs put on China. It makes it come out to something like 135% tariffs on China for Chinese goods. And that is just painful for Americans. This is not really going to incredibly negatively impact China. It's going to hurt Americans. And at the end of the day, the U.S. is just not in a position. We do not have the depth, the stability to be becoming super aggressive with our globalized marketplace. I don't think it's going to pay off very well for us. And one thing that I'm trying to do myself is reposition my brain because, again, I've told you guys this before, but the U.S. is not in the position it was in 1991, and that's the thinking that I think a lot of U.S. politicians and decision makers have, and a lot of Americans in general, just have this idea that we are in the same position we were in 1991 economically, that we are able to bully other countries economically because we are the number one market in the world. We are the number one economy in the world. We have the fiat currency, right? This is just not the case anymore. The US dollar has devalued incredibly. The sanctions that the US has put on Russia, has opened up the world market to all of the countries who have been previously sanctioned by the United States but have had nothing to do or have had no means to get around these sanctions. They do now. North Korea is one of the most sanctioned countries in the world, along with Iran and Russia. And what are they doing now? They're all trading with each other. Not only are they trading with themselves, but they're also trading with other countries internationally. So the sanctions regimes just don't even matter anymore. We wasted our greatest tool and probably our strongest weapon on Russia, trying to force regime change in Russia, and that just didn't play out. So the sanctions, the tariffs, all of this economic warfare that we are trying to apply, and in doing so apply pressure to China, is just outright failing. And it's very clear that it's failing. You can just see by the way Trump is squirming on Truth Social or X, wherever you read his statements. You can just see that he is immediately backtracking on the China stuff. He's saying Xi is not that bad. They're going to work it out, this, that, or the other. And it's just, it reaffirms my point that the elites in the United States are so arrogant with their position. They think that they are so powerful and so in control of the global market place. I mean, just their willingness to, 100% sanctions, instead of going to China and talking to China about what the situation is, trying to backtrack behind closed doors. What does the U.S. do? We get aggressive publicly and then immediately backtrack and look weak. I think it's sort of a disaster, and I think it's really a pinnacle moment in the shift from U.S. dominance in the global market to Chinese dominance in the global market. It is very clear that China has insane leverage over the United States, and the United States is looking for a way to counter them, and it just doesn't seem like we have a clear path forward in doing that. I don't think we need to counter them. I think we need to accept that our role as the empire and the hegemony is shrinking, and we need to retract back into what we are good at. We have the ability to be an incredible manufacturer. We have an incredible military. We have incredible STEM programs and stuff like that. We could truly be a gigantic superpower, almost to the point of being an empire, and have our lives basically unchanged here. But we are more interested in regime change in Venezuela, regime change in Iran, regime change in Russia, and pivoting to this Chinese theater to counter the Chinese threat. It's very hostile to begin with, and the only thing you can expect from the people who are receiving that hostility is hostility in return. That is what this rare earth minerals deal is. And I suspect it's also why we're seeing a lot of industrial accidents inside of the United States. Most recently, we saw a explosive manufacturing plant in Tennessee detonate, killed 18 people, I think. The entire facility is gone. They produce explosives for all sorts of different munitions. Could this be an accident? Yes, it very well could be an accident. But could it also be any number of foreign entities conducting espionage and sabotage inside of the United States, just as the United States is doing in, say, Russia? It's very possible. So now you have American citizens potentially dying from smoking accidents, potential sabotage acts, or just U.S. citizens dying from manufacturing accidents because we're trying to overproduce for what we can. And in doing so, accidents are going to occur. So in wars that we're not fighting, in wars that we do not need to win, in wars that we do not even need to be a part of, we are suffering because of it. And so this is again, just to the point where you don't need all of the empire. You don't need all of these wars. And in fact, all of this clawing and gripping to stay attached to the previous powerhouse that the US was is going to more quickly drag us into the abyss. And it's really unfortunate because, like I always say, the US could just be geographically alone. We could be a dominant force in the Western Hemisphere, a dominant force in the globe. But instead, we choose to waste it away. And lots of people are making lots of money from it. So that's not going to stop anytime soon. All right, guys. If you guys have any questions, don't forget, you can always throw questions up in. I still have a little bit of, I have a conversation to have about Venezuela, and then we're going to talk about Ukraine, and then that'll be it. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope I'm not being too boring. Have I seen the new APAC ads? Yeah, I have. Is it that like the AI slop garbage where it's like APAC is not actually foreign. It's actually American citizens who lobby for a foreign government. So we're actually not bad. Yeah, I want to be I want to be an American citizen who funnels millions and millions of dollars into campaigns for Russia. No, I'm an American organization just trying to strengthen US and Russian relations. No, you're a foreign lobby group and nobody buys it. And the AI slop garbage is literally only effective and only works against boomers. Again, it's like Israel has no idea how to talk to a generation younger than 60 years old. It's unbelievable. Good evening, Radix. Good to see you in here. Scott, question. When you visited the Western Wall, did you leave your severed, desiccated snuffleupagus? No, guys, I kiss a wall 3 or 4 times in my life, and now it's like a big deal, and you guys are all upset about it? Like, come on. I needed to take those pilgrimages so I could understand the blight of the Jewish people in Israel, okay? Okay? Have you ever been to a crossing? Have you ever been? Oh, by the way, speaking of have you ever been, what's his name? The guy who debated Dave Smith, and he was very pro-Israel. He just got caught in a group that was writing speeches for the Israeli ambassador when they were talking to European and U.S. country or dignitaries. So, what's his name? Douglas Murray. Yeah, Douglas Murray was literally caught working for a foreign government and not reporting it. He was getting paid by the Israelis to write speeches. He was writing speeches that were not connected to him in any way, and he didn't report it. So he's literally basically a spy. Like, that's what that is. It's unbelievable. He is trying to influence politics in his country on the behalf of another country. That's crazy. We are talking about Douglas Murray getting caught post-debate for writing speeches for the Israeli ambassador to Great Britain, I believe. Truth, Scott. Everybody has lost, or Israel has lost everyone under 40, just about. Yeah. It's really bad. It's really, really, really bad. Like I've said, I've never in my entire life heard people having the kind of conversations that they are having now, just in public, just taboo conversations that you wouldn't be able to have, 6 months or a year ago, are now just being openly talked about, and everybody's in agreement. It is a wild little awakening that is going on in the country, and I'm very happy about it because this Israel lobby issue has been a major issue for a long time. And it's not just the Israeli lobby, it's neocons that support it and go along with it. It's a whole systematic issue that needs to be dealt with if the U.S. has any hope of being around in the future. Yo, Scott, ain't you getting tired of Brian Berletic's nonstop of the February? No, that's his. Listen, everybody has their thing. His thing is geopolitics and foreign policy, and he specializes in U.S. foreign policy. If you're tired of it, stop listening to him. Right? I think that he is on a warpath right now. He is right. So, you can say, aren't you tired of him talking about it? Yeah, you might get tired of the videos being similar or whatever, but he doesn't cover Ukraine map updates, really. He's not talking about what's going on in this place and that place. He's focused on big picture, and particularly what is going to be affecting his region very, very soon, which is Southeast Asia, right? He's in Thailand. He's got a lot going on. And it's all about perspective. For you, yeah, I'm sure it's boring. Like I wouldn't want to hear the same thing over and over again, potentially. I don't watch all of Brian's videos. I'll watch one every now and then. But I don't like to take in other people's opinions, because then I think you kind of copy their opinions, and then it just becomes it's kind of like an echo chamber. So I try to stay away from other people's videos on the same topics as I talk about. But yeah, just stop watching. If it's boring, just stop watching. No, I'm not tired of it. I actually appreciate it because, like I said, I think he's right. And if he is right, he should keep pushing that and make sure everybody understands what the U.S. government is doing. He is fighting a war that nobody else wants to fight. It is a thankless, moneyless war, and he has made it his mission, and that's his thing. Yeah, this is exactly it, and this is why I say I'll never be big. I'll never be a big account. I'll never be major. And that's because I will not lie. I will not appease my audience. I will not tell you anything you want to hear. I have people in here from all over the world. And I hope that most of the people in here are critical thinkers, and they can logically walk through a situation and come to a conclusion that is objectively factual and represents reality. Like, that's what I hope all of you are in here for, right? You go to some like Preston or any of those pro-Ukrainian accounts, they're talking about Russian encirclements and shit. Just Fantasyland garbage that isn't happening, but their audience demands it of them. And if they don't follow through with that, they will be crucified by their own audience. I couldn't give a fuck what you guys think or say about me. I mean, I care because I want you to be impressed, and I want you to be come back and watch my show, but I will never curtail my topics, my discussion to your guys' sensibilities. It's never going to happen. There is an objective, factual truth, and then there's my biased opinion that I try to deliver that objective, factual truth to you in. Obviously, you can't remove all bias, so. All right. I'm going to just talk about Venezuela for a second, and then we will talk about Ukraine, and I'll show you guys some map updates. So the Nobel Peace Prize Award was up for grabs. Some people thought Trump was going to get it, which I thought was an absolutely ridiculous proposition. I don't know how a sitting president or dictator of any country, not that Trump's a dictator, but of any country, could ever win a Nobel Peace Prize ever. Unless you're like Switzerland and you never fight. This is interesting. I've spoken to Denny Davos privately. He doesn't believe much of the stuff he says on his channel and supports peace negotiations. Yeah, see, it's like they can't believe it. That's the thing, is you can't believe the fantastical nonsense that is required for the reality that they've created. Like that they've just pigeonholed and bottlenecked themselves so hard. But thank you for that. I'm just kidding. I was just interested in that. Yeah, but he has to keep up the act for his audience. I hate that. I hate that so much. I hate I hate that so much. It burns me inside to know that there are people that get on and create content that is they know it's not true. That's unbelievable to me. I would rather jump out of an 8-story building than allow that to go on in this channel. That's crazy. Okay, back to the Venezuela thing. Or back to the Nobel Peace Prize thing, which involves Venezuela. The Nobel Peace Prize has been awarded to the Venezuelan opposition leader. Let me actually look up her name real fast. I don't have it up. Okay, hold on. I don't know her name. If somebody could get her name up, I didn't know she existed until just yesterday or whenever she won it. Nobel Peace Prize 2025. Maria Corina Machado. Maria Machado is who won the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025. This is a individual who has, as far as I can tell, done almost nothing for peace. The only thing she has done correctly is positioned herself on the same side as the CIA and Israel. Her party has direct connections to the Likud party in Israel. She also has openly asked Israel to help depose the Venezuelan government using their powers and their abilities, whatever that means, in a tweet to overthrow the democratically elected government in Venezuela. So that doesn't seem like a super peaceful individual to me. Additionally, she sort of came out of nowhere and is highly represents the previous individual who was in the exact same position as her, Juan Guaido. Juan Guaido, I think, is still in Miami, living it up off of that CIA black money. But, you know, it's no different. It's a puppet individual who has been picked for her connections to intelligence organizations and communities. And she will be used as the, what do you want to call it? The future Zelensky. She is the person that they have chosen to replace I always say his name wrong. It's Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. She is their Zelensky. She's their new guy. She is going to take over, and if they are able to force regime change, she is going to be the one to take over. This Nobel Peace Prize, it just goes to show you what all of these awards, what all of these achievements actually mean. They don't actually mean that somebody is achieving peace, right? That's not what this Nobel Prize is about. It has nothing to do with peace. It is a political move. It is a political gesture towards somebody in a country that the U.S. is currently killing their citizens extrajudiciously in international waters. We have designated the current regime a terror organization or in cahoots with a terror organization because we want regime change there. This is the propaganda machine. This is the system that you inhabit. And you need to fully understand and comprehend this, that Nobel Peace Prize awards are just like any other fake medal. Like, you know, when the North Koreans have like back in 2008, they hadn't been in a military conflict in how many years, but they have their medal, their ribbons are like this big on their, it's like 800 ribbons and medals and stuff. They're like fully decked out. That's what that's what this Nobel Peace Prize is. It's just like a fake award that they handed out to push a foreign policy project and a narrative. So again, you just got to be very, very careful with how you interpret specific information, especially as like an American, because we have been so unbelievably propagandized to since we were itty bitty little kids. And our basic ideas about certain groups, organizations, assemblies, stuff like that is just not reality. So All right. Okay. I'm going to take us over to the map now, and we're going to just talk about Ukraine for a little bit. Remember, if you guys have questions, get questions in. Get asking them. Your opinion on the supposed buildup of Egyptian troops in the Sinai? I think Egypt is a gigantic pushover country that receives more U.S. foreign aid than any other country besides like Israel and perhaps Ukraine, but that's just very recently. They have to deal with Israel, but their government is very accommodating to the U.S. and Israel in the region. Obviously, that's for their own stability. They maintain and operate the Suez Canal, so this is, part of their future. I'm not knocking them for having their own interests, but I would not pay attention to any buildup of any troops anywhere. It's not going to happen, because the second anything happens, the U.S. will rain hell down on whoever touches Israel. So it's really not worth it. Scott's a race trader. What did I do? What did I do to the whites? Unless you're saying I'm a different race than white. All right, head over to the map. Make it a little bigger. Okay, I just have some key points that I want to talk to you guys today on the map. So first and foremost, my map has run out of points. This happens sometimes on Google Maps. It is by far the stupidest part of this entire website. I don't know why this is a thing, but on when your specific oblast reaches 1,000 points, 1,000 of the little you can see these things right here. You can like move and adjust it. Once it hits 1,000 points, it freezes. So my Donetsk front froze. It reached its max point limit reached on October 9th, 2025. Very, very sad. It hurts my feelings very badly, because now I have to create new oblasts. Like this is the Northern Donetsk Oblast. I'll have to do that for every single one of these until they're connected. And I can make another secondary larger Donetsk Oblast chunk here to finish it off. So I got a lot of work ahead of me. And then at the end, I'll probably recreate the whole Oblast when the Russians have pushed it out all the way, because the points should work out just fine at that point. But yeah, so that's very frustrating. But it is the way it is when you use a free system. So most importantly, I wanted to talk about the Dobopila area right here, the Shakove area. Russian forces are now back and expanding in this area. And I talked about this in my video that I posted today with all of the map updates. Remember, guys, I don't do all of my map updates live now because it just takes so long. It's like 30 minutes of me just staring at a map. But some very important advances are happening here. The advances of the Ukrainian armed forces, the 12th Azov Brigade in this region since the beginning of August, when the breakthrough initially happened, have now basically entirely been reversed. And the Russians are now back to advancing out of this little pocket here. So the whole bunny ears advance is now dead. If you go and look at Deep State is showing something completely different. I think that is just an entire false reality that they have in this area. And I believe the reason they're doing that is because this is the only area where the Ukrainians have achieved any minor success in counterattacking as of late. There have been a few spots here and there. The Sumy region moves every now and then. But all in all, the Ukrainian troops are having a very, very bad time. And this is an area where they had moved so many resources into to try to hold it. And the fact that the Russians are back to expanding after only 2 months is a very, very poor sign for the Ukrainian armed forces defending this area. Moving down to the south in Pokrovsk, we can see that the pocket is now closing on the far end. I had posted on Twitter a couple of days ago that there were some rumors on Ukrainian telegrams that Ukrainian forces had begun withdrawing slowly from the Pokrovsk-Minhorod salient. And it is now reported that Russian forces have actually entered Minhorod and are operating within this area. Very important because this high ground right here and this high ground right here are dominant in this southern pocket region. If the Russians can get on top of these, it is going to be very difficult for the Ukrainians holding Suky Yar, Novopavlivka, this entire area. Also, once the Russians are into the urban fighting, it becomes, I personally think the Russians do much better in the urban areas. So they will move quicker and operate more safely out of basements and stuff like that. So we can expect that within the we can expect that within the next couple of weeks or a month or so, that this pocket will probably close up entirely and level out somewhere out here, sort of like Avdiivka did. And then eventually you will see the Pokrovsk pocket expand, and then this prediction will start to look more realistic. Dorbopila will be the immediate goal, and then after that, it is basically just capturing the rest of the Donetsk Oblast behind the main Kramatorsk-Slavyansk line. All right. Just another update, just because people don't seem to think that the Russians are moving very much. They most definitely are, and that can be most adequately shown in the eastern Zaporozhye, eastern Dnipropetrovsk region, where the Russians are just advancing through these fields at a very impressive rate. If we look, like I've said multiple times, Velika Novosilka is now 40-ish kilometers behind the front line. Ugledar is almost 100 kilometers behind the front line now. So the Russians are moving fast, and here very shortly they will reach the Pokrovske Holyai-Polye highway. They are within 8 miles of Pokrovske itself, so Pokrovske is now under intense drone fire. And then Holyai-Polye, the second crossroad village, will eventually be surrounded, probably from the north, by the Russians moving down this road, and they will take over this, and then we should see the same sort of expansion that we saw out of Ugledar and out of Velika Novosilka, out of Holyai-Polye towards Orikhiv and up towards the northern part of the Zaporozhye Oblast. One final area I wanted to talk about, actually two areas. I'm going to kind of do the hot spots right now. In the Liman area, Russian forces are now very, very close to beginning the battle for Liman. They are moving incredibly quick towards the city itself. And most importantly, up here near Stavki, Russian forces have advanced where this high ground sort of outlines and is centered around Stavki. So once the Russians have Stavki, it's going to be incredibly difficult for the Ukrainians to hold these fields on the lead up to Liman. And then remember, Liman is in the lowest part of the low ground with the Severodonetsk River and canals and swamp back behind it. So it is going to be very, very difficult for the Ukrainians to hold Liman. And then in the same sort of area and with the same operation, we see that the Russian forces have advanced further into Yampil, as well as have crossed the Bakhmutivka River and entered Dranivka, which is just north of Seversk. Seversk is now looking like it's about to be in a pocket. If the Russians are able to advance down towards Plantanivka, they will cut this roadway leading into Seversk, and then Seversk is going to have a much more difficult time staying supplied and connected. You can already see that the Russians are advancing on the western, the eastern bank of the Bakhmutivka River, and we should expect something like this in the near future, where the Russians are leveled out along the red line, which is the Seversky Donets River. And then lastly, up here in the Kupiansk area, Russian forces have almost captured the entire western bank of Kupiansk. That is going to put the eastern bank in an extremely difficult position. It is also going to put Ukrainian crossings to the south in a difficult position, as well as the Russians begin to advance out of Kupiansk. So this pocket, which I believe should have been evacuated like a year ago before this Oskel River crossing happened here, will likely close. And then we are beginning to see movements in this direction towards Borova as well. So the entire Oskel line is beginning to push in the way that I had predicted that it was going to push. All right, guys. That's all I have today. So if you have some questions, go ahead and get some questions in. I'll sit around and I'll talk for a little while, and then we'll wrap it up here and get out of town. Holy shit, they're that close to Seversk. I haven't been checking the updates yet lately. Yeah, go check out my most recent video I posted on my page, on my YouTube page. I did a full map update. I talked about the Seversk area and how it's sort of emotional for me. It's weird. I was looking at that area, and I just stared at Bielorussia for like 2.5 years, dude. I watched so many people die in that specific little area on those stupid like chalk hills and stuff. I despised that area of the map, and I saw how far past that they are now, the Russians, and I was just so happy that I never had to look at that stupid town ever again. Alex from the Duran said the Russians will introduce new weapon systems. Any guesses on what that might be? No, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I know that they've been talking about stuff. I think that there's probably a new, a longer range glide bomb. But other than that, I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about in terms of new weapon systems. Maybe there's a new drone or something that I'm not particularly aware of. But I'm trying to. I just don't know what they could be talking about that is being mass produced in any in a way that would tangibly affect the battlefield, right? Garin 2 drones are tangibly affecting the battlefield because the Russians can launch 200 of them every night, right? That's why they're having an effect. I don't know what the Russians are going. I don't know what they've been secretly producing, what weapon system they're talking about. I would be very interested to know, but I don't know. Any plans for Hanukkah? Just got to go buy like a bunch of presents for a bunch of different people. I got to buy like 7 different presents for like a bunch of different people. So, so stupid. What will happen if tomahawks hit the Kremlin? This is a good question. I don't know. I don't know if the Russians, if it hit the Kremlin, the Russians would have to do something. But I'm not sure that the U.S. will allow tomahawks to hit the Kremlin. Not only that, I'm pretty sure that Ukraine will not be receiving tomahawks. It just crosses a line that I think if the U.S. decides to do it, we have very big problems, because that means that they are extremely desperate and they need something to happen to hurt the Russian economy. I would be very concerned if tomahawks get sent. Not that the tomahawks are going to do the damage, but just the fact that they're sending it, just what it means to the Russians and just what the consequences it will have. I think it's in the same boat as JASM and Taurus. There's a reason why you haven't seen those weapon systems. There's 2 reasons why you haven't seen those weapon systems in Ukraine, right? The escalation factor and the logistics and supply. What comes after Kramatorsk? Kharkov, Zaporozhye, Pavlograd, Poltava. Question: is Pakistan the designated weapons demonstrator? India, Afghanistan, etc., as seen on Telegram. Yeah, that I don't know. I'm not an expert on Pakistan, but I know that they are very tight with the U.S. government. I know that the U.S. government has had beef with India recently in terms of the continuation of buying Russian oil, and with Afghanistan. Do you think it's a coincidence that the U.S. just talked about getting their base back from the Taliban in Afghanistan because they wanted to use it against China, and then a week later, a fighting breaks out on the border between Pakistan and the Taliban? I mean, come on. Russian command in Bielorussia was retarded. Yeah, I don't doubt that, to say the least. Can RU, China, North Korea, and Iran form an alliance like a direct counterpart to NATO? They could. I don't know if they will. I don't know if there is the necessity to. Also, it's really hard to have a Russia, China, North Korea, Iran alliance, because those groups don't have a ton of culture in common. There's not a lot of Iranian culture that's tied to Russian culture, and there's not a lot of Chinese culture that's tied to Russian culture. So when you're talking about NATO, it's really easy for Americans to be like, let's go save the British or the French or the Norwegians or whatever, because we all are in that Anglo-American sphere, right? That's the empire. But there's a reason why we won't go die for, Taiwan, or there's not, we're not going to go die for Ukraine. We're not going to go die for places that are really outside of that sort of cultural allegiance that you can just stand shoulder to shoulder and it's not weird. And I'm not saying that it's weird for Russians and Chinese, but there's going to come a point where Russian national interest and Chinese national interest collide, right? And one is not a vassal of the other. The reason why NATO wins and works in the long haul is because all of the nations in NATO are subservient to the United States. That's how it works, right? So until that happens, I don't think you're going to see the same kind of alliance. You see a North Korean Russian alliance because they have common interests right now, and they need each other for different reasons. You see a Russia Chinese alliance. You see a Russian Indian alliance, not a direct military alliance, but economic and all of these other things. And I think that's truly more important than an actual defense alliance, because I don't think that a defense alliance particularly matters all that much. I think it actually puts you in a much worse place where your hand is forced for reasons that you might not want it to be. Like if Poland gets attacked and Germany doesn't want to go to war and doesn't want to escalate, but everybody else is calling for Article 5, Germany's screwed over, right? So this is sort of an idea that you have to play with a little bit. Not easy to adapt ship-based tomahawks to ground launchers. Read the Substack article. Yeah, no, it's not a difficult thing. And even if it was an easy thing, think about the production. It's just like we're giving Ukraine HIMARS that we would be using in a war. It's not surplus. It's not like we manufactured them and they got new ones. No, we are giving them our equipment, our ammunition, our missiles, our everything. So not only do you need to develop a Tomahawk ground-based launch system, but you also have to produce it and then send it to Ukraine and train them on it, and then they have to use it unless you send mercenaries or advisors or whatever. China don't do alliances. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think China would do an alliance. I don't think China has had a reason to do an alliance. Nobody has attacked China for decades, right? You only do things when you need to do them. And right now, China does not need to do anything of that sort. Like I said, as long as they can maintain their alliances that they currently have in terms of their economic and production capabilities and energy, like Russia, like China needs Russia for Russia's energy, right? They need that. So that is an alliance that they have. And guess what Russia needs? Russia needs a market to sell its energy to now that Europe's cut off. They need each other. That is an alliance. It's just they're not going to come running to save each other if a war pops off. Scott, how many rubles does Putin pay me? Not enough, my good friend. Not enough. I wouldn't talk so much shit on Russia if I was paid better. Are they going to wait until they capture everything east of Dnipro in order to go to Odessa? I don't think Odessa will ever be. I think you guys just got to change your mind about like Odessa. Like there's not going to be a Ukrainian army by the time the Russians meaningfully cross the Dnieper River. Like you're not going to see an amphibious operation. You're not going to see a land assault. It's going to be like the Ukrainian army is going to be surrendering, and then the Russians will get Odessa. Like that's I think that's how you really have to think about this. U.S. interests did collide with European pipeline destruction and not having cheap gas and oil. Yeah, but guess what? So this is exactly what I'm talking about. So their interests did collide, right? And you would think, why would Germany go along with having their economy trashed, their industrial sector ruined? Why would they want to be reliant on the U.S. for their energy? Oh, they don't have a choice because they're a vassal. So yes, it does come. There is a conflicting interest, but the organization NATO works out because they're all subservient to the United States, right? That's you're exactly right. That is a perfect example of a national interest being ignored for the importance of the NATO alliance. You are exactly on the money, my friend. How long do you think is left until the cracks in the front line finally break in the Ukrainian? 6 months to a year. I think you're going to see legitimate issues in 6 months. I think you're going to see Kupiansk, Pokrovsk, Seversk, and Liman fall all before next summer. I think is a very realistic possibility at this point. Scott, do you really think there's going to be an EU versus Russia war? No, I don't think the EU has the industrial capacity, the appetite, the morale for it at all. I don't think so. You still going to sign up if that Bush fight? Yeah, in Venezuela? Hell yeah, bro. I have to, and I have to get paralyzed because then I get an avatar. I have to make it happen. Who would win, a TCC officer or recently 18-year-old Ukro? It depends. Does he have the ability to run away, or has he already been grabbed? Because if he's already been grabbed, I don't think he has a chance. But those guys are like 30-year-old fat guys, so you can outrun them pretty easy. Oh, if Russia was to get into another conflict, hypothetically with the Baltics, will they play it the same way with Ukraine attrition? No. There's no strategic depth. And once you attack them, you're attacking NATO. So either the NATO alliance has dissolved, or Russia thinks that there's absolutely no chance that NATO Article 5 is going to be invoked for them capturing 1 to 3 of the Baltic countries, Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia, for those of you who aren't so good at geography. And no, they don't have they don't have a military. They don't have a population. No, they would be overrun by FPV drones and missile strikes immediately, and their entire response would just be decimated. Every base would be hit in 5 minutes, and it would just be over. Those countries are tiny. Those countries are like not even close to the size of an oblast in Ukraine. Estonia next by 2030. Don't get your hopes up, boys. Don't get your hopes up. Calibrated. If Russia were to get into a hot war with aliens, holy hell! Now we're getting into it, boys. Hold on. I got to prepare myself for this one. All right. If Russians were to get into a hot war with aliens, would they fight the same way they fought Ukraine, or would it be different? I'm sure they're not going to fight an attrition war with FPV drones against aliens. I just can't foresee that playing out that way. I'm sorry. That's funny, guys. Watching Scott skip over your comment got to be the most. The chat moves kind of fast. Did I miss a comment? Also, sometimes the comments are so stupid that it's just like I don't even like the questions are just like I can't even. Can you do an Ursa von der Leyen impression? No, I'm terrible at impressions. But I will do one on the next stream. I'll look it up. I'll figure out how she talks. I know how she talks. I just don't want to rip it off right now because I can probably get it really good. So I'll bring it up on the next one. I know that's what when she saw those dead Ukrainians in Bucha. That's what she did. It's a pretty good impression. Aliens from space or aliens with portals? Does it make a difference? What if the Russians were against the predators? Okay, now we're just doing U.S. or Earth militaries versus aliens. I should just become the infographic show. What if the Russians were attacked by aliens? How would they respond? We've seen how they're a paper tiger in Ukraine, but how would they fare against an intergalactic civilization? Just inject Botox into your face and you'll do a good Ursula impression. One quarter ton Willies versus Mothership from Independence Day. It's so funny to just think about like a little FPV flying up towards like the giant like blue lemon thing that shoots down in Independence Day. Hey boys, I'm back. All we needed was an FPV. We didn't need to kamikaze a F-16 into it. Scott, Trump, and BB impressions. My whole channel is just going to become me doing impressions, just practicing for the next live stream. Ooh, this is a good one. Would the U.S. prefer aliens or predators as their proxy? I think predators are too. Ooh, I don't know. They're very tribal. I feel like you could trick predators with soft power. You could convince them that like democratic values are what's up, and they should fight for that. But also, I feel like aliens is just like a point and release sort of thing. So one's like a bioweapon, and the other is like Ukraine. You decide. You guys are funny with these questions. This might be a dumb question, but do you think a civil war in Myanmar was incited by China to gain access to the Indian Ocean? No, I think it was incited by the United States on Russia's border. I think that they just did the same thing in Nepal. And guess who took over? The National Endowment for Democracy's puppets. So I would have to look up the Myanmar situation a little bit, but it takes two sides to have a civil war. And I don't think that China is particularly interested in having destabilization on their border. I don't think that that's something that they really want. Scott, what if they gave Baby the Peace Prize? I would dedicate my life to assassinating him. No question. And then taking said Peace Prize. Predators don't attack innocents. Predators 1-0 Israel. First off, I think I've seen predators kill a lot of people that had basically no idea what was going on, especially when they're like hunting aliens. They will kill anybody. So I don't know if they don't kill innocents. I might not be as good. I might not know as much about predator lore, but I think if somebody is standing in their way, innocent or guilty, they will go through them because they're a different race of creature. Okay. Hey, Scott, you tried out Battlefield. I played the beta. I've never been a huge Battlefield guy. I really liked Battlefield 1. And then I really enjoyed like Bad Company 2, but that was like 2 decades ago I played that. No, I don't have a ton of time for video games, and I especially don't have a ton of time for video games where I don't feel like I'm really getting anything out of it. I'd rather play like Hell Let Loose or something than Battlefield 6, honestly. I feel like Battlefield 6 is like a poor attempt to mix like a strategic fighting game with Call of Duty on a larger scale. And it just never felt like I was working for anything in the game. And I just could never really get into it. I've bought all of the Battlefields, all of them up until this one. And I play them for like 2 weeks and then I'm done. So I'm rocking some Helldivers right now with the bros. That's a lot of fun. And then I played Borderlands 4. And I've also been playing a ton of old video games. So like I've been going back. I'm going to replay through Fable. I'm replaying Wolfenstein right now, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's crazy that the way that game is written is just wild. It's wild on so many different levels. It's not good getting used to war video games. Why not, friend? We're all going to be fighting here soon. We better get used to it. Did you ever try Stellaris? No, I haven't. Should I try it? Which Wolfenstein game? I played, so I'm kind of playing them in order. I just played Old Blood, which is the prequel to Wolfenstein New Order. I'm currently in New Order, and then I'll play 2 after that. The Second Amendment is meant to fight conscription. Yeah, but when a 9/11 happens and all the retards are like, ooh, they hurt us, there's going to be no shortage of men to go die. What did General Shepard say? He's like, I lost 40,000 men in a blink of an eye, and the world just fucking watched. But tomorrow I will have no shortage of patriots, no shortage of men willing to go and die for their country. I haven't played that game in like 8 years, and I just rocked that General Shepard line. Ever try Mein Leben mode in Wolfenstein 2? No, I haven't. I actually have. That game is the game that I have played through the least, and I'm really looking forward to completing it almost entirely, like going through the entire game. Are there drone operator games out? Yes, I have 3 of them on my PC, and I play them all the time, and they're very fun. And I have a drone now, and I fly it, and it is very fun. I don't have a drone. I have a friend who has a drone. I want to buy one very much. I have flown drones in real life. They're so fun to fly too. They're so fun to fly. Those 4 men, Helldivers, Left 4 Dead, Deep Rock, yeah. Oh man, dude, when you get the boys on and you're in a squad and you got a mission to do, it is so fun. FPV simulators have been out for a year before the sport was a thing. Yeah, but they're so much better now. They're so much better now. All right, guys. That's where I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 9 of Casual Calibration. I am your host, Scott. If you enjoyed this, please go and check out my other work. You can find the links to my Telegram and Twitter in the description of this video. If you wish to support me and you wish to support Calibrated more specifically, the organization, you can go and click the link to the Buy Me a Coffee and support me there. All that money goes back into my setup for you guys so we can make this show more professional and better. The next thing, I think next weekend, I'm going to try to get a new background. I'm getting tired of the white, so that will be the new change on the stream. I hope you guys will enjoy that. Without further rambling and ranting. Take care and have a fantastic week. I will see you later on this week for our next episode of Casual Calibration. Be safe and take care, everyone.